Welcome, everyone. This is Savage, and I'm glad you're here. We are back to no frills, no fuss, no muss. We're playing hardcore vanilla Minecraft. I am at home, safe and sound. For those of you guys that know, we'll talk plenty about that. But yeah, it is not the day I expected it to be coming in here, and I want to say right out of the gate, we are. Yeah, I'd left off the previous videos talking a little bit about how when I get home, I'm gonna have some time. This New Year's bit, I'm going to probably get back to a couple episodes a day and really try to jumpstart our HCMC stuff. And well, I guess while we're loading here, for anybody who doesn't know, I live in Colorado. I live about halfway between the cities of Denver and Boulder in the suburban stretch. And for anyone who has seen all the national and I know international news on the fires yesterday, I live 2, 3 miles straight line from some of the closest things to me that burned. But I mean, it is literally in my backyard, and that's it's just so jarring when something like that happens. And for folks who don't know, the same area, because this extended almost from South Boulder in the city. Boulder is a city and a county, and has a couple of very small old towns that kind of run into it. One of which is Marshall. Marshall Mesa, Marshall Road are all names that everybody knows, but there's a little town of Marshall, um, which is close to where the initial power lines fell that started all this yesterday. So anyway, as I'd kind of updated on my thing, I was flying home yesterday and knew that it was going to be windy. Had no idea, and you don't in Colorado. 100 plus mile an hour gusts are not unheard of, especially right where that fire started. Well, there's actually a National Wind Research utility set there, and some massive windmills just to the south of where the fire started, because it consistently gets some of the highest winds in the country. And they're right up there with hurricane force, but they are predictable in that that location generates them consistently, so they can do a lot for the monitoring and learning about what causes those and where they're at and all that kind of stuff. So, um, yeah, just the absolute worst nature stuff that you could have. And I'm actually taking this time to record. It's 8:45 my time this morning, and of course I got up, watched some more news, and there isn't a whole lot except that it's daytime again, and they can kind of go around and start showing they had a lot of the families going in and checking on their homes, some of the folks that had lost everything, and then other homes that in the folks out in California, Canada, Western states know this well. The wildfires will go through, and much like tornadoes, um, they seem, almost vindictive. They'll go through and pick this house, that house, that house in a neighborhood and take them out and then leave others largely untouched. And same goes here. It was one fire that spread very quickly through grassy area, but kind of followed a road that I know well, that has houses and little communities on either side, and then right into the town of Superior, and from there just kept spreading out. Got up, um, jumped the highway to get into Louisville, and some of Boulder itself was hit again. And this is literally they were actually using the grocery store parking lot where the shootings had happened last spring for some of the evacuate or emergency coordination, I should say, like the parking lot, load up trucks. A lot of that was happening closer to me too. But anyway, I was flying in on an airplane, midday flight, and they diverted us because of winds. And right up until we landed, I didn't really know. But then as we were about to touch down, I looked out and it was very brown. It looked like what I've seen in Arizona of dust storms, where they just kick up walls of dust. And I'm very familiar with the walls of smoke from the wildfires, over the summers in the mountains and further west, the last few years. And it didn't even really occur to me at that point because I'm, everything's dry and dirty, and you're out on the plains and you think, all right, well, it's just kicking up a ton of dust because it's windy. And you're in a plane, so you don't smell anything, right? Because all the air is pressurized and recirculated. So we landed. I went through the airport, got my bags and all that kind of stuff. Took a shuttle out to my car, got it, and was driving. From there, no real direct smoke, so I wasn't noticing anything as I was getting in my car. And then it's a pretty good drive back, and with the New Year's holiday weekend traffic, I was kind of like, all right, here we go. Um, so remember how I said I was going to get a new axe? I haven't even looked at it. Here we go. Let's get this axe swapped out. Um, this is blue. This may not be the most efficient way to go about this, but we'll do it anyway. So anyway, I was driving from the airport back to home, and I had the radio on, and I was kind of surfing around. Purdue was playing in a bowl game, so I was listening to a bit of that. Oh, there we go. But just kind of, I was on the AM instead of FM, and just kind of bouncing through channels. And one of them that has a lot of the CU sports and stuff on it. So it's kind of the main news radio, I think, out here that, is at least ostensibly fairly neutral or unbiased. It doesn't overtly say, hey, we are, this flavor of news. So I listened to them a fair bit. And when I was cruising through, they were talking with a woman who'd lost a home to a fire. And again, I see all the wind and everything zipping around, and I'm like, well, I guess the Eastern Plains had some fires whipped through, because she was talking about, like, oh, we have 5 acres, we lost, antique cars and all that, and the same story we're going to hear over and over. Got an evacuation notice and only had the time to go back in and, like, grab the pet, grab the wallet or purse or, whatever she had done, and basically they had no time to evacuate anything. It was run for your life kind of stuff. And so I was, okay, well, that's sad, but okay. I assumed that it was something that happened in days prior, and she was just filling in. Well, I completed my ride. I was like, well, that's not kind of bleak. I don't want to listen to that. I'm going to go back to sports and, dodged the commercials or whatever. Finished my drive home, and literally as I was turning off that US 36 highway, which cuts right through the middle, and I hadn't seen any signs that, oh, it's going to be closed ahead, I just got off at my exit and turned towards my home and was like, I smell smoke and it's really windy. I hope, a house isn't on fire close to me. Again, I still have no idea that, I haven't even looked up or registered that there are huge clouds of smoke to my north. And I wanted to go to the grocery store to gather up, to restock, get all my groceries and stuff because I'd used everything before a week away. So I proceeded on over to the grocery store, and it was during that part of my drive that they announced that there were these mandatory evacuations in for the two towns I know very well. Oh, that was bad. Um, and of course, after I still proceeded to get all my groceries and everything, and after that, I got home, turned on the news, and really began to understand through TV just how bad this really is. And it was one of those more so than any other kind of disaster setting that I've been a part of, where I actually needed to stay glued to it because um, while I never felt in danger, I wasn't threatened or scared. As the night went down, it was kind of a race between the winds dying, which they do overnight, and where that fire would go. And between me and the fires is the Rocky Mountain Regional Airport. And it sits way up high. It's like on top of a big bluff, and it kind of dominates the landscape um, in my area of what is kind of Westminster, Arvada, Colorado, and then the points north and west out towards Boulder. Um, and being an airport, there's not structures or anything like that up there, and the wind would be at its absolute maximum going across. And I knew that the photojournalists and some of the stuff that was burning was kind of to the other side, but a little further west, and hadn't even gotten up to the edge of the airport property. But sometime in the evening after dark, they did go ahead and update mandatory evacuations all the way to that north edge of the airport. And at the time, they'd said, "Oh, and that goes." And this was the city and county of Broomfield said that their evacuations go all the way to a road called 112th, um, anything south of 36. Well, that's pretty much right on my doorstep. that's that's really close. Not literally, but very very close to where I live. A casual walk, not even like a because I walk all over the place. So I've walked to all of these places from where I live, but that's spitting distance from the very close grocery store that I actually usually go to another one a little further away. And it was scary because that included the evacuation center that they'd set up and had been directing people to. And I was like, oh man, if they're doing that, this is something's moving that the news isn't aware of. And later they clarified and said, no, it was only up to a north-south road that divided that moved it further to that airport area, and so not directly north of where I live, which is a nice reassurance. But it didn't change, and I immediately got calls from friends that were like, um, if you need to leave, come here. We understand what just happened. We know how close that is to you. If you got to get out of there, you got a place. Don't have to call, don't have to ask, just show up. Well, if you get out, we got you. And that's amazing, and so much of that going on around here right now for everybody. And of course, I wasn't impacted at all in the end, but it's nice to know that you got people out there that are looking out for their neighbors and your friends and all that kind of stuff, or strangers, more importantly. So um, that was the point where I kind of was like, okay, well, now I really can't turn this off. And of course, as it started to get less windy, it coincidentally got more gusty for a while. So it was a little um, unsettling, I guess. Just hearing, your windows rattle, all that kind of stuff as the news people are like, oh yeah, it's really calm and so, and I was like, well, it's not that calm yet. I also learned you cannot text the string "die wind die." On a thing, we were just talking about how these winds are supposed to be going down, but they were still gusting. And everybody's like, "Oh, it's gusting hard here," and I just sent out this "die wind die" thing, encouraging it to go away. And of course, the algorithm, and I'm fully in support, right? You don't want to be sending threatening things. I was threatening the wind. I shouldn't have. The wind has its own feelings and right to be, but I didn't care too much at that point. I wanted to go away, and it did. Today is ironically a very nice morning. We're supposed to get snow one day too late for all these families that have been affected. But yeah, it they did oddly continue some expanded uh, pre-evacuations, and they actually did a mandatory evacuation late, right, kind of right before I went to bed. That was in my city, and cities out here, at least the couple, the one that I live in and the one I used to live in. I used to live in Broomfield, and for whatever it's worth, now I live in Westminster. Um, these have the two of those and a bunch of others have these like tendrils, long fingers of, oh yeah, this is a part of the city. So I live in a city. One of my good friends lives in the same city, and we live. It's like a 10-mile walk away, but you basically go diagonally through another city to get between our parts. It's so crazy, and so when there are all these fires and things moving around, so it did go into my city, but it was on the opposite corner of that airport, and got to like a 17 house subdivision, and they said it was abundance of caution type stuff. They didn't want anything to go. And I guess, as you get to those overnight hours, you can't just assume the best, right? That's not what you do with evacuations. Hey, what could, if it's going to go wrong, what's the worst thing? Let's let those people know, because you don't want people doing what I was doing, which is like, hey, I had a long day of travel and all that kind of stuff. I want to just crash out here in my own bed for the first time in a while. It's going to be nice. Um, you want those people to know in advance, hey, this isn't quite done yet. So they did, and it never jumped that road, never got up that way, um, and that's a good thing. But uh, it sure got so many people, and commenters and all that. I don't like clogging up the Twitter to thoughts and prayers and all that kind of stuff. It's tragic. We're all feeling it. We all want to reach out to people and let people know. And here, especially, everybody knows people that are impacted. Not I say that, but like so much was hit so hard and so fast that it's tough not to. I happen to work for a number of years right in the middle of that area. I worked in downtown Louisville. So right at, as nationally as you guys will start to see some of the pictures of kind of the main business area, I worked right in the middle of that little area. Via Appia was a street that a lot of the news was reporting off of, because it's kind of wide divided, and there is a police and fire station right kind of in downtown Louisville there. And that was some of the first um, news footage of, hey, we can see burning structures from here, and confirm that there were structure fires, because a lot of it was, even when I got home and they were still looking, was, we know we've lost some structures, but it's mainly a grass fire, because the grass burns and it throws up smoke, and you can't see into those areas once you've evacuated. Well, that was one of the first places they were, you can see a home on fire through the trees back there and that kind of stuff. So that was tough. And I've got friends with family members and friends and that kind of stuff that have been impacted. Lots of calls or texts from people I know. Hey, if they know where I live, it's not so much, are you okay? It's, do we know anyone, whether it's school friends or whatever, do we know anybody that was right in that area? And, all I can say is I know a lot of people that were in that area. I don't know that they know yet if they were impacted. Sadly, though, it's already becoming clear to a lot of folks that, either they have been or are likely to be again. So, just a tough day. And I think with that in mind, at least I'm getting this up, and we'll probably call it good for a number of hours at that point. I may be back. We'll see. Because it's supposed to start snowing. It's supposed to be a snow day today, and that was um, part of the reason why I was so dead set. Before I get home, before I start unpacking anything like that, let's get groceries and be all set up, ready to go. Um, for the New Year's. I don't want to be out driving around on New Year's Eve, in case folks are partying it up. And I knew that this cold weather, snow and all that, so no fun shopping for groceries and all that. So I just wanted to get on top of it. Plus, I didn't have. I had used up the last of my coffee. I think the last few episodes I recorded before I headed out were tea. Just I was like, well, I'm not going to go get coffee and open it. And even though I keep it in the fridge to try to keep it fresh, why take a week off the freshness of the coffees when you can just have tea? And I like tea as a change every once in a while, but I'm much more a coffee guy. And so that was important. Fresh produce, new carton of milk, eggs, those kind of things. All the all the basics. So got all that. I'm planning to kind of hunker. I'm planning to somewhat self quarantine. Because remember, everybody here, nobody's thinking COVID right now. But I did go through airports. I tried to be very safe. I am vaccinated and had just gotten boosted, so I'm about as safe as I can be. But you never know when you're going to get something exposed and caught up. So I just trying to do my part a little bit. Like I'm looking forward to a little bit of Book of Boba Fett maybe tonight. Haven't watched any of that. A bunch of the series that I'm behind on now after all the Christmas stuff. So I'll do a little bit of that and just see, how much of this is back and forth. Do people need anything from me? Is there a way that I can pitch in and lend a hand? More specifically than already having gone to just reach out. There was a church that was saying they were doing overnight sheltering last evening. That's right in my neighborhood here. I don't go to it. I'm not a regular church goer, I won't say, but I was raised in the church community. I think it's awesome, regardless of faith, that those kinds of groups are willing to step up. And they said we've got room for 200 beds. And we do coat drives. We've got coats and things like that. If people had to leave without having warm weather gear, because today when they're waking up, it's not. Yesterday it was in the 50s. Today it's going to be snowing all day. So if people are without those, they were just offering. And I don't know. I went over there looking, and it looked pretty closed up. I didn't see anything or anybody to talk to, but I'll try to catch somebody and see how they did, and see if I can give them a little donation, because I thought that was pretty cool. But if I'm not a huge fan of the idea of streamers and all that. Oh, we got to do fun. You got to do this, you got to do that. Everybody's got their own priorities and all that. But Colorado Red Cross, Salvation Army, we're both stepping up in a big way in this area. So if you have a couple extra bucks, check out online where the good charities are. And the other one, this predates the fires, has nothing to do with it really, because knock on wood, and there's supposed to be another press conference here coming up. Um, Yesterday it said they weren't aware of any missing persons and unaware of any fatalities at that point. Now, the guy also said the scope of this fire and how fast it was moving and people's natural resistance to evacuating, because we all hurricane coast people know this a lot, right? Um, you get told multiple summers in a row, hey, hurricane's coming. Everybody evacuates, everybody pays for expensive gas, and takes off. And then some knuckleheads go around and try to loot everything. So not only are you um, inconvenienced, but you may literally lose more stuff if the hurricane doesn't perform a direct hit on wherever you're at. You may lose more stuff than you would have through the storm just by not being around. So it's a tough deal, but that was what the fire chief or somebody was saying in one of the updates is we know, the deputies were going around knocking on doors, and there were people that said, no, we're not going. And that was the case in one of the Colorado mountain wildfires 2 years ago, I think. A couple that died around the town of Granby because they didn't vacate. They thought they had a fire safe basement or whatever, but it just sucks out all the oxygen. And this was jumping so fast that it didn't, the grass didn't have to burn up to your door to start a fire. And you may be watching that grass burning up towards your door, because that would certainly do it. But embers may have been carried a half mile down the road and started a new fire. And you don't even know that as you're trying to get out, when you finally realize, hey, we shouldn't be here, there may already be new fires in your path to safety. So I hope, and I just don't want to hear that there was loss of life, because that's the silver lining so far, is that there hasn't been. But it's I was just curious, so I looked in the summer of 2020, with all the combined California wildfires, which, and I'm not demeaning those. It's not a morbid competition or anything like that. But California lost 10,000 homes in the course of all the 2020 super wildfires, and it was something like, I don't even know, what was a ridiculous number of acres burned. Phenomenal, astronomical. This, will probably be 10,000 acres. Like, it's not a huge section of forest that burned or anything. But we were spitballing that the afternoon update is the number that all the national news and everybody has been going through. 580 homes. That was in two subdivisions that I saw the mayor or the sheriff of Superior get on and say, there are two subdivisions that are a complete loss. And then those two had 370 and 210 homes respectively. And he said all structures are gone. Now, could they really see all of that? I don't know. But that's where the 580 impacted homes number came from. The fire that was at 5 p.m. and then the fire burned through the night and was spreading rapidly through the night. We've got tens of thousands of people that have been evacuated, and I'm guessing at a very low number, 2,000 more homes would be my guess. And I'm not a scientist. I'm not out there with drone or anything like that. I have no idea. But I would be surprised if it wasn't If that was in fact accurate, I would be surprised if there aren't 2,000 more kind of single family homes, and that's not counting apartments and things that had multiple families in them. So just real tough. And again, so many people like tornado. I grew up watching tornado videos in the Midwest and all that. When a farmer or something would come out, well, we got to rebuild, and you got to go on. And Boulder's kind of known for that kind of an outlook and mentality. But it's good to see it reinforced. People that at least to this point haven't gotten on rants or anything. So often you're in shock. You're looking for something to blame, or why did this happen to me? And then a news team sticks a camera in your face, and they're looking for that raw emotion, and it does come out. And, oh, this is, how did this ever happen? I want to blame the city planners, or uh, the power company. How dare they put up power lines? That kind of stuff. No, it's just, this is part of being human and living in the world. The world isn't made of Nerf. Things like these fires can happen, and it's tragic. That's why it's tragic. But it's also I heard somebody say, I think it was a different fire chief in one of the things, he said, because they're going around today, and you'll see this one house standing and a bunch burned down right around it, and why do those things, one go, others don't? And he kind of said it's, some people have wood shingles on their house, some people have wooden decks, others don't. If we don't want to live in a world where everybody lives in a rectangular box made of cinder blocks, um, you're gonna have a little bit of that, and that's really what it comes down to. In the wake of these tragedies, we wanna we wanna all live in the starter Minecraft house, right? Cobblestone block bunker. But in Minecraft, like anything else, we want to show more of our personality, make it look more pleasing. So we start modifying stuff and building up, and that certainly played a role in all this. And it's stuff that 9 times out of 10 you want to have some bushes around the side of your house. You want to have a deck that you can go out and enjoy your backyard, and some furniture, a picnic table thing. But those are all the things that then become sources of fuel. And in the mountains, folks have begrudgingly come to accept that you have to have a defensible perimeter. When I was a kid, you thought of a mountain condo or cottage cabin kind of deal. It needed to have pine trees right up to the edge of it. That's why you were going up into the mountains, have the pines and all that. And now, people are beginning to understand, if you have well cut grass out away from your structure, the fire department can do a much better job of defending your property from burning to the ground. Whereas if you build within a stand of trees, you don't think about that in subdivisions, and that's what former firefighters are saying. That's what people that they interviewed, one poor guy that lost his home outside of Boulder in the foothills a couple years back to a fire, and was renting a house in Superior, because he hasn't decided where he wanted to rebuild yet. And that one he wasn't sure of. He was on last night. He wasn't sure if that one was still standing or not. And, but he was one. They said, hey, what perspective can you give to others? Sadly, you've already been through this. And he said, it's really good. In most cases, your insurance will take care of everything, and in these big disaster type scenarios, they typically won't hassle you a whole lot. They want to get you back on their feet. And he he actually took the opportunity. He's like, I know I'm probably not supposed to, but I'm gonna plug so and so insurance because they've done such a good job, and he's like, I can stand here talking to you guys and not be not be devastated because I know they did a good deal. And they said, well, do you have anything else? And he said, this is one, file away if the worst should ever happen for you. Um, if you ever find that you have to run from a disaster that you lose your house from and you don't have any time to get records or anything like that, um, he said contact your bank and your credit card company that they can provide 7 years worth of your transaction history, and that the insurance company will actually help use that to validate your property losses, because um, we're all told, and nobody does it as often as you should, and after Christmas is actually a good time. If you got a new computer or anything like that, get it all set up and then go back through and just with your phone take a video of your room. You should do your whole house. Go through and you should do these things kind of planned out. And we were, because my folks are contemplating a move here in the coming months, we were doing some of that kind of stuff with them. Not videoing it per se, but just evaluating what all they had. But especially as you get older, you'll have multiple sets of dishes, maybe antiques that family heirloom type stuff that has been passed down. My folks have a lot of books. Go through and video your bookcases. Maybe a china cabinet. Maybe you have oh, I was gonna say guns, but they're kind of generally pretty safe if they're locked and stored appropriately. They should be in a fire safe and should be good to go. Um, but those kinds of collectible small items that may be stored in cases, pull them all out, display them on a table or something, and get a video of that. Then you can go back to your insurance and say, hey, I had all of this. It was in the structure. Here it is. And if New Year's is a good time to do that, kind of get in the habit and do it. Maybe not every year, but every 2, 3 years. And a good reminder is, if you get a new couch or new furniture or something like that, that's a good time to remember, hey, I should go through and video some of my other stuff as well. And with computers and components, a lot of you folks may have built your own PCs. Keep a component list, and either when you're building or if you're doing a video of other stuff, open up the case and have a components list that you have in that computer, and just kind of pop the case and show, this is not an empty case. This is a legitimate computer. Here are all the specs that I built it from. And that's where, your credit card company can actually help you out quite a bit by verify, hey, here's the credit card that was used to buy this video card, or this motherboard, that kind of stuff. So that makes it much easier to get replacement stuff. So it is what it is, and it's never easy, but hopefully, except for a few outsiders, this is purely property loss, and you can rebuild any amount of property. Um, I hate to have done another ice episode, but like I said, I think we're gonna kind of call it. Oh, we're a little quick. Okay, never mind. Let's. I was thinking I was closer to where we started than I was. Let's gather up all this stuff. I think we're going to um, head back to base. We got a bunch of ice. I don't have an immediate plan. I don't think we left anything over that way, did we? I think that's home. Yeah. Let's wrap up our ice adventure. We'll get all the way back to base and then can kind of reset and go from there. So Um, HCMC ones, HCMC 100. The how did we get here advancement is I hate to say full go because I think it's going to be long and drawn out, and that's why I was getting ice. We'll probably do some of that along the way, but with the exception of kind of the ice highway, or if some inspiration hits, oh, this will really help us out. I don't think we're going to be doing a lot of building just for building's sake at this point. We'll kind of make everything focused on how did we get here. Wish those would load up. Do. I'm assuming our creeper farm is kind of there-ish. I don't remember how far we cut. Alright, sleepy time. Bed. Boom. Alright, now we get home. Oh, well, that's kind of how things lie. I think there's going to be a fair bit of watching just kind of shocked horror. 'Cause I don't want to be the person that's going driving and I gotta go see it. I gotta go see it. Now there's families that literally have to go see it, and there's emergency folks that are still trying to do their job. And frankly, I think a lot of it is closed off because there's still fires burning until we get that, and then it's going to be snowy, rainy, wet, and all that stuff that goes with a winter storm. So I'm gonna stay put. Maybe if shouldn't we have seen the creeper farm if we came around here? I'm trying to pinpoint where that is. Is that our little bay? There's our creeper farm. All right, so we were just 1 point over. Oh, and we started this little ice adventure from here, didn't we? Go back through the nether. I do have the news on. Just seeing last 24 hours highest gust 115, and again, that's cute. Anytime you get up over 100-mile-an-hour winds, you're into some craziness. But it's not like, oh man, that happened. That's a disaster. No, that is fairly expected in the areas where they're talking about it. When you get a windy day, it's going to be exceptionally more windy in those areas. So that isn't quite as dramatic, I guess, as it seems on first look, first hearing it. But it's significant. Alright, here we are back. Now, did we make an ice section? I think we hadn't we? This is... That is packed ice. So I think... Why doesn't that... First of all, why did I not get that? Why doesn't this go... Green I think, had regular ice. Ice. It's got the snow. And then we got this room to spill in blue ice. So there we go. Made some good progress. Couple days, just kind of filler stuff. But again, welcome back to all of you guys that were kind of checking out for the holiday stuff. We'll see where that leads us as we kind of go forward. But again, I doubt anybody was was frantic, but safe and sound here. Habbage is doing fine. Others in the area are not so lucky, so keep them in your thoughts. If you're looking for a bit of New Year's Eve good fortune and want to support a charity, there are worthy ones all around the area. Colorado Red Cross or National Red Cross, Colorado, or Salvation Army, both are committing funds to the area at the moment. The other, hang on one second. Ooh, I used to go to eat in there. Getting a first look at some of the business area and was wondering if it will show over to my old office building. Think they're a little close. Yeah, these are like, strip mall, not even like houses and things, but just commercial buildings that kind of all gotten torched. That's sad. Anyway, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get distracted. I don't like having stuff that pulls attention away when we're recording, but you see some of those things for the first time. What? Naughty ice. This stuff we still gotta put away. This can go there. Come on. Boing, boing, boing. Blue. Packed. Flint is right here. Actually, all of these. Take everything. Flints that we were supposed to have left with Franny. Feathers. Well, we do have feathers down here. Alright, now we can get all our shulkers back. So, cautiously, and again, I don't know what kind of topsy-turvy stuff I'm gonna have going on. My thought would be we're gonna start off with some more dragon fights. Try to get that whole ring completed. Then start looking for the shulker. We've done enough terrain exploration, looking for the biomes, and I don't know. We may have to just make something work. In terms of the pillagers and the guardian temples and all that. Are those, speaking of, that sounds not like a wandering trader, but, oh, maybe there was a llama. I thought maybe that was a pillager. Let's go see if we can say hi. Hi. Yes. Hello. Nothing too easy. I wonder what, now that we are tropical fish traders, I wonder if that is a specific type or if that is just generic tropical fish. So let's buy them. In fact, let's see if he sells more than one. I don't know what his stock is like. Oh, now where'd he go? Would you run away? I want to buy a fish. Okay. Oh, he had 4. Well, that's awesome. So, Now the big question is, are these tropical fish different varieties? See, like here, maybe we moved them down. Oh, those are axolotls. They may just be the generic tropical fish stuff. We'll put them down here. It's worth trying. For those who don't know, one of the things I'm not going to divert into while we're working on how did we get here are the turtle and fish sea life. I don't know what we called it. It's in the book. Um, Education and adventure area thing. Kind of a, I don't know if it's so much a traditional aquarium as habitats. See, these are buckets of tropical fish and then have a bunch of different things. Boom, 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 boom. Whereas these are just tropical fish. Well, who knows? Can't hurt, right? I'll put our emeralds away. So, like I said, I think first stage, do as many dragon fights as we need to complete the ring of portals. Then, depending on how long that takes and if we need a break from any of it or anything, we may do a variety of habitat looking at, or I don't know, preparing a uh, water temple. Although I don't think we really need to go into it, we just need to have it close. But kind of picking out that location. Then we'll have to go around and check all of those portals to look for end cities that have a good shulker. We'll have to connect it with a bridge so that we can put a shulker in a boat. And I've never done any of this, so this is all going to be new. Shulker in a boat, get it back to our end island, get the shulker through the portal, which I think Piston will help set that up. I don't know exactly how all that goes, but we'll figure it out. Um, Once we have our shulker in the overworld, we'll need, before we get to the point of moving all that, we need to know where we're trying to send it, because then we'll need to likely move it within the nether to whatever the spot is. And that's where the blue ice, having the high speed road and maybe enclosing it so we're not in danger of losing that shulker. We get it set up, and then it's gone. It's no good. So all those kind of things go in order. Those are the main concerns for me. We'll have to have a dolphin in the area to get Dolphin's Grace and all the other various effects. We'll just get the potions, get all that lined up, and set it up. So stay tuned for a lot more of that progress and fun. I'm so glad you guys dropped by. Hope you've enjoyed. And again, please bear with me as I was really expecting to rack up a few more episodes and see how things are going. But yeah, we'll get to it soon enough. So take care. See you next time. Bye now. Bye almost. Oh, here we go. Thanks for watching. See you next time and stay awesome. Stay safe if you're in Colorado.